Okay. Today it is a very interactive class. There's a particular thing I am going to teach that, and it goes under the heading of we're supposed to already, always, actually, at all times, be ready and knowing. So we're going to start to do it in a certain amount of parts. Okay? And this is just for the people that watch this later. I see only 2 people here. This is for people that watch it later, and when they immediately turn it on, they'll know what we're going to do here. But too many people don't know any of the sciences that prove the original man is God. They don't have any concepts, but just a logic of use to denounce the mystery God. So like it's just more logical or a better idea, or not as efficacious or efficient to deal with a mystery God or to wait on a mystery God. So that's not good enough. That's not good enough. So we're going to do more. Okay, now we'll let the room fill up and repeat this, all right, as we go along. Okay, next week will be April 8th, and April 8th I will be back at Allah School in Mecca, continuing to stream online and really get into it. Divine truth, Allah, peace. I don't know if I've ever seen you in this digital classroom that we're doing here. Let me know a little bit about yourself. And of course, if there's anything you'd like to ask of me, just because you came in here to watch doesn't mean you even know who I am. So please feel free to answer, but also feel even more free to ask questions. Oh, okay, Divine Truth. My apologies. Yeah, there's so many people. I forget. Last week I did not teach though. I was on vacation with my little one, so it's throwing me out of the loop a little bit, I guess. VC realm, peace. All right, I like to open up all the class, and this will happen when we're at a law school in Mecca regularly. How I would do it. I really like to take some time to get some questions from everybody. You know, whatever questions you have. Let me know what you've been building on, because they're definitely going to make certain connections with what I'm going to share today. Let me know what you've been building on, what you've been studying. Divine, you said I was actually in tune when you were speaking about what happened with the Asian community and those who were killed senselessly. Oh, that's peace. That's peace. That was the last session that I had. I'm missing something here. DJ Calvin, peace. All right, been a minute. What's going on? Peace, Jarrell. Truth rules. Peace. You seem new. I don't know who you are. Truth rules. Hopefully, you are the namesake. Okay. Let's get everything formatted here. Okay. I did. I didn't get to read it. I literally just noticed it in the last hour. Well, yeah, it came in at 6, so yeah, I noticed it pretty late. If you'd like, though, I could go through. I could read it to myself and see if there's anything if I could go through um, the questions in the class. I definitely could do that if you'd like that. From a quick scan, it seems very relevant. For everyone listening. Okay. Today's a knowledge day. One of the days that I'm not gonna say the most boring answers, but that's pretty much what I think. But give me your build on the day's mathematics, but with what knowledge is. Okay, a lot of people tell me different things. All right. I'm missing a chord though, so let me get that last chord. I'm missing a chord connection here. Okay, now we have all my superpowers. All right. So what have you all been studying in the last week while I was on vacation? A little vacation, you know, watched a lot of cartoons, played a lot. All right, give me your builds on today's mathematics. Part of this lesson that I'm going to start to teach is based on, it's based on that. Okay. Knowledge, of course, knowledge is first with the answer. Knowledge is a reality that is free of any doubt. Hmm. That's a beginning of an answer, right? Because, just thinking that couldn't be the whole answer. Delusions are free of doubt too. So you have to be careful with that. Knowledge being information rooted in truth that can be shown and proven at all times. So doubt is unnecessary, and that's what makes it potent. An interesting thing about knowledge and how we build. One of the reasons people don't always bear witness, no matter how much science we give them about the original man being God, that there being no mystery, is in what knowledge Allah said. Knowledge being information rooted in truth. Okay, not that part. Okay, because that's kind of abstract. Because the truth is still subjective, right? But then you said that can be shown and proven at all times. That's the part that we think is undeniable, and we say we can show and prove it. However, here's the problem. The problem is that when you're dealing with religious people, the context by which you show and prove is also not bared witness to. Okay, so it is not believed. So understand that not everybody is going to get this. I mean, that's the first thing to say. Not everybody's going to get this. You know what I mean? Some people's just not going to bear witness because the tools, the methodology that you define to show and prove that the black man is God, they're not going to bear witness. They're going to say that the methodology itself is mysterious or man-made. I've heard this many times. I've heard this from Orthodox Muslims many times. You know what I mean? And what's interesting, I've heard this the couple of times because I'm not arguing with Muslims and stuff. So these things that I've learned is literally at a law school, because a law school a lot of times has people walk in that think it's, it happens a lot actually, if you really think about it. But not nearly as much as you would think it should happen because the name of the school. But people walk in thinking it's a mosque. And then when you tell them that it's not, here's what's the interesting thing. You tell them that it's not, and then you don't tell. Happens all the time. You tell them this is not a mosque. Before they even ask a question like, what is it? What do you do? They're already angry. You see? Because their religion is so intent on the use of the word Allah in anything already means that it ought to be what they're saying it is. So it's not even, they own it already. So that's one of the, I was going to say pathetic, but maybe there's a better word. One of the most pompous, things of the Orthodox Muslim, is that concept, The word Muslim is rooted in peace, the root of the word Muslim. Okay, so, the etymology of it. Because it's rooted in Islam, right? One who professes Islam submits to the faith. From the root Aslama, he resigned. So, its root is submit, you know what I mean? And then that submission is calm, is peace, right? And by the way, the root of Muslim is to submit, you know what I mean? The etymological root. And what's interesting is that those people that profess to be Muslim gods, that crazy title there, they always try to say some counterpoint that it means man of peace. If not, then they accept it, and then they, start to say that submission is a good thing, or that you submit to all things, and they get into some corny stuff. And but that's another. Leave that on here, somewhere else. But the interesting is that when you're dealing with people that deal with religion, or you're dealing with people that deal with doubt, if you can't get a consistency of methodology for them to accept how you're going to build about something, then it always becomes irrelevant. I'm saying this so that way you don't get frustrated, and you learn to let things go, because sometimes that's going to happen. You know what I mean? Let's see. Let me go down the line here. So I see some interesting thoughts here. Knowledge Allah. You said, I often hear knowledge is the foundation. The foundation has to be strong. The strength of knowledge of self is that it brings forth everything about self that's right and exact with truth. Yeah, I mean that's the generic definition. That, and when I mean generic, it's I the dart in that is that I don't want you being that that's your unique understanding. It is generic because it's correct and everybody says it. You know what I mean? Um, if everything is based on some type of, if things can only be created on some type of truth, then we realize that things that are not right and exact and things that are right and exact still have a foundation of truth. It just means that in one sense, in one reality, the truth is manipulated, and in the others, truth is used. You know what I mean? So it's basically knowledge is always the foundation, because the falsity of things is also a truth. The falsity of truth is also a foundation for things to continue. You know what I mean? But how long does it continue? How far does it go into mathematics? You know what I mean? If there is a lie being told and something is based on a lie, its ability to progress, though, is still based on knowledge. You know what I mean? You know, have a point of corruption that is earlier than it would be if it was based on truth, right? And the thing is, though, is that I want you to be able to get out of the concepts, or just challenge yourself out of the concepts of what we're saying right now. You know what I mean? Knowledge Allah, like we're talking about truth and things like that. What is truth? You know, like what makes something true? You know what I mean? And then even if we say like, okay, basic example, 1+1 is 2, we're still under the, we're still under the impression that for 1+1 is 2, then people are accepting, there has to be an acceptance of a reality. One is this single digit, and one is this single digit. You see what I'm saying? Understand that things have to be accepted for truth to be real to other people. If it's not, then whatever methodology that you're using, though, is going to be, it's not going to be accepted. You know what I mean? Wise, you said, keeping my son trained in supreme math and teaching him the origin of all things with the ability to find the answers to whom, what, when, where, why, and how to perform as a civilized person. Okay. Truth rules, you said, well, since today's knowledge in our supreme math, which is the first step towards righteousness, when you look, listen, observe, and respect. That is the action of knowledging, like we do the knowledge, right? But is it knowledge? You know what I mean? Right? Knowledge is knowledge is an actual idea, a reality that has a consistency beyond perception, right? So when we put a methodology that crashes through perceptions, that actually deletes the perceptions, that seeks to prove it out, then we have knowledge. We have a true idea. One of the best ways of proof is if it continues mathematically to produce actual understanding as opposed to misunderstanding, right? Halftime, you said, Sunnis, when you come across it, how do you tend to respond when they hear the explanation and say that we're blasphemous? Oh, yeah, when I was talking about, yeah, I consider these moments where I am defending the school. I don't know if these are crazy ass religious zealots. I don't know what these people are. You know what I'm saying? Just like anybody that walks in school, I don't really know who they are. You know what I mean? I try to tell them what we teach. As simple as possible, and deviated away from the religion of Islam as much as possible. And even declare that we're using these words and these definitions to express something of who we are, that we that we don't deal with Allah outside of ourselves, but we see the original man as Allah. There's no way to sugarcoat that, and they'll be accepting of it, though. It is a pretty rough statement. So it's always going to cause some ire. What's interesting is that once you say you're using the word Allah and say that you're not Muslim, that already brings out ire. So once I start explaining some of the simple basics about what the class, what the school is about, it always brings some kind of trouble. You know what I mean? There's no way around that. You know. I will say this though: very few will call us blasphemous to our face. I haven't had that experience. I think I only had it once, and I said, well, you know, you could go out there and continue to search for Allah, you know, and the mystery that you seek, you know, right? And hurry up because it's time to, you know, to face the East again, right? Because you got to do this 5 times, right? All right, who else has some builds? All right, let me know how you see today's math. Malik, peace. Can I say that knowledge is taking heed of what's truth or not? Truth says. The problem is not that. That's not where the problem would occur, right? The problem is, how do you define what is truth? What is the methodology? Okay. So for now, I want people to propose to me, how do they prove that something is true? Right? Is knowledge a verb or a noun? In the mathematics, it is not a verb. Right? It's a noun. It's a thing. You know what I mean? It's a thing. It has to be defined as a thing. You know? And that's the problem, though. People cop out and build on knowledge as as a as a verb, and that's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? A verb is doing the knowledge. Okay, doing the knowledge, right? A noun is what is knowledge, what is actually knowledge. And then now that you're telling me knowledge is the truth, how do we gauge that knowledge is the truth, right? How do we prove a truth? How do we say something is true and something is not? You see? Do you see how far we could go and how confused it could the confusion it could bring us, though, right? Well, very interesting here. When that truth becomes useful and applied in the here and now, trick knowledge can be useful. Lies can be useful, because they can be used. Knowledge 7 Supreme, you said all knowledge isn't truth because the devil taught trick knowledge. Yes and no. Actually, no. I see what you're saying, no, but trick knowledge is not knowledge. Okay, trick knowledge is not knowledge. Okay. Um, when we talk about knowledge, what are we talking about? Right? Because when we say trick knowledge, right, we're talking the ability to manipulate something to become a falsehood. Okay? Right? And this idea of trick knowledge is that some of it was knowledge and some of it was not. Okay? So it's a mixture. And that's why I say yes and no originally. You know? So ultimately it's no. Okay? Um, there is no standalone truth in, for example, what Musa taught them. You know what I mean? Right? Cabin, you said knowledge is the first step toward truth. It is being aware of something, not proving it yet. Being aware of the foundation, the date, the time. Okay. Now understand now. I'm going to continue to do this. I'm not letting anyone's answer be right. Okay? So you're close, Cabin, but it's not going to be right because you said it's being aware of something, not proving it yet. If you're aware of something, though, you may be aware of a misperception. Okay? So now it's just basically how you perceive stuff. And that's why doing the knowledge is not knowledge. Okay? When you're doing the knowledge, though, you're absorbing perceptions, and they may not be the truth. Okay? In fact, one of the abilities to do the knowledge is that most of the stuff that you're doing that you're looking at, listening, is not actually true, or should not immediately be believed to be true. Okay? And that's why what is the first um what is the most important type of knowledge? Knowledge of self. Because it would be a knowledge of your own abilities to perceive. Okay? And then that would be something, right? You see how we run down a slippery slope. And I'm doing this on purpose because it's supposed to get a little difficult. Najila, you said, so truth can be objective and subjective, right? The original man is God. The earth is created by the original. What part of that is not subjective, right? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, you're in it. So all of it is subjective, you see? And now you're getting somewhere. All of it is objective. All of it is subjective. And it becomes more useful the more objective you can make it, right? As far as testing it, right? You test it with objectivity. But all of this truth is extremely and is only really subjective. Huh? What's a fact? Knowledge is an accumulation of facts. Knowledge 7 Supreme says, and since trick knowledge contains falsehood, it's not knowledge. So I see what you're saying. Right, right. And that's the whole thing. What would make a fact a fact? It means that based on the methodology and based on the standard that has been accepted and tested, it is true. Behind me is a door, because all doors have those makeups. And if I was able to open it, it would lead somewhere, right? But it is exactly how a door is made up, right? That would be knowledge, okay? And because we perceived it, but we have a storehouse of information that has been continually tested, right? And yet, if say that was a trick door and it wasn't really a door, it was just a big sticker behind me on a wall, right? What would we say about what we had that we thought was actually knowledge? See? All right. Kasim, peace to the God. How you holding up, God? Everything's peace? Good to see you in here. Jarrell, you said knowledge. Looking, listening, observing must be contained, absorbed to be useful. Seeing, hearing can be done passively, listening, realizing, okay, developing experience for future ciphers is active. Okay, but you gave me the action of doing the knowledge, right? Kareem, peace, God. You said knowledge is a tool used to be successful in society and shape and mold character. The truth comes from investigation through science, logic, philosophy, history, statistics, and all fields of thought that appease the minds of the people. You see, this is where the challenge in life goes, Kareem, because people don't in let's say, for example, give you a real example. In Buddhism, many of the sects of Buddhism, this concept of sciences to prove things are also our own illusion. So everything is created by us according to Buddhism, like the Buddha mind, everything. but everything is also an illusion. And everything that the mind creates is an illusion. You see? And the sciences are what uphold the illusions. You see? What I'm saying is that what we say is knowledge, okay, is based on parameters that ought to be challenged at all times, because they are not, no matter what you would like it to be, they are not always universally set. Okay? What you say is knowledge is based on perception. Okay? A lot of it is based on perception. Okay? When we try to simplify things as much as possible, like I could pour this water and say that is absolutely water. Okay? And what do? We taste it, we get its molecular structure, right? We would do these things and say it is water. Okay? And then we have finally proven that the knowledge of what this is actually so. Okay? But as we extend to other things, it becomes much more complicated. Okay? And obviously the ultimate complicated task, showing and proving that the original man is God, showing and proving that there is no mystery God, right? All of these things. Cabin, you said, then I could say knowledge is being aware of facts that I can prove to myself. I can show how I prove to the self. Then that would be a knowledge of self, being aware of all what you see as facts. You see? So you've described what a knowledge of self is, but not knowledge. Okay? Again, I'm doing this on purpose because one of the reasons that people can't prove things is that we try to make everything, that we have simplified everything, but also understand that it can be made very, very difficult. Okay? And this is why you have headaches with people. Okay? We have taught it simply, but the world has not accepted it simply. Okay? And these are some of the reasons why. That's peace, Kasim. All is well? Good, good. Tried and tested, and then knowing your methodology, knowing the way that you prove something is knowledge. When you're out there, what do you say is knowledge? You see? Like, what is it? Like on the knowledge day, you should go out and say, what is the knowledge that I'm getting? You know what I mean? What am I saying is knowledge? Okay? And supreme freedom, you said knowledge is an accumulated body of facts. Correct. But also stifling, because you've transferred the word knowledge and defined it by using another almost synonym, and that is facts. How is something said to be a fact? You know what I mean? When I do hip hop stuff, I think it's a fact that I am the best writer. Is this not a fact? Because in my life, though, when I write, I consider this a fact, right? So then what makes it not a fact, right? Because if you said, well, Sunez, you know, it's your own opinion and stuff, and then I say, well, then what is the methodology, though? Show me what it has been written. And then we go, you know, show me what they got. You see what I'm saying? So you see, like, the methodology of how people prove what is a fact is really the exercise that I want you to understand, okay? Because if you can do this, though, then what you can do is that when you're teaching, when you're showing and proving something that we have by all the criteria that we know is proven to be true, right? Then you also, before you even go to somebody else and say, I proved it to myself with this criteria, science, biology, biochemistry, quantum mechanics, someone else might not bear witness to quantum mechanics, though. You know what I mean? If you tell them that the physics of the small is not the same as the physics of the normally large, or the great atomic, the size of the atom, and then larger, but below the size of the atom into the Planck scale of sizes, physics works differently. And so I said, well, you don't know that. You haven't seen the little things, and so you don't know. And it doesn't matter, because how could we see that with our eyeballs? How could we see that? You know what I mean? The perceptions of knowledge is something to always be intrigued by. You know what I mean? Um, there's a book called What a Fish Knows, you know? And it and just like it could be any animal book. I'm just saying this one because we look at fish as like most people look at fish, even as a vegan, like I'm just, it's not like I'm saying, oh, these are the most intelligent creatures ever, right? I'm just not eating them, you know what I mean? And when we start to study them, though, they have set abilities and senses and even memory that is astounding. And realistically, if we were to multiply them to the size of a human, they'd probably be, technically supreme in their abilities to sense things that we can't even sense. Um, the ability to have memory of certain things, right? So this is something to take note of, you know what I mean, of our perceptions and how we deal with them, and take note of other people's perceptions, because the ever quest of showing and proving that the original man is God is proving that the reality that there is no mystery, that all is created in the mind, by first getting through the perceptions of people's minds and how people perceive. You see, because the only thing that keeps a mystery God going is the powers of perception. Let me go back a little bit. Knowledge. You said knowledge is rooted in mathematics, and math is right and exact. So if any, okay, see, this is where we have a problem, right? Then the homework for you is to prove that math is right and exact. Not everyone bears witness to that. You know what I'm saying? And that we could get stuck and just be lost right there. And math is right and exact. So if an 85, those blind, deaf, and dumb, those who don't know, doesn't expect the truth, that's on them, right? Their unwillingness to accept doesn't make the truth untruth, right? Yes and no. Because every experience that you have, though, is another challenge for you to prove things under a different realm of reality, right? Because some will be nonsensical, but some people will actually challenge you to prove things in a reality that you have not thought of, okay? Right? So one of the assumptions that we make, though, is that the 85, because it says blind, deaf, and dumb, they are not all of every single trait at all times either. So they're not always dumb. They're not always deaf, and they're not always blind. Okay, it's basically a, a cipher of people, a categorization of people that are inconsistent because they don't know this one particular truth. But that is one particular truth. It doesn't mean that they don't know a whole bunch. And the truth is, in this information-based world, a lot of the 85 are people that have been introduced to this but refuse to accept it. And a lot of refusal to accept it has been in a either has been an incorrect. I was gonna say either, but it's always incorrect because this is what we're saying. An incorrect and often incomplete way of testing whether this was true, right? Kareem, the ways of the world says 85% don't care for your facts. Appeasement and methodology have to be taken into consideration in the now. Indeed, indeed. And but the thing is, these are the people that we're teaching, right? So shit, you know what I mean? the challenges to science and what to ask and are in what to ask. And oftentimes what to ask, though, isn't from the one who is steady in the knowledge of self. It is the one who's steady in the knowledge of self, looking at others and their perceptions. You know what I mean? That's peace, Malik. To prove the truth, don't we simply use the objective information to show and prove? The thing is, though, is that understand that for all people, though, this is a subjective issue. So it's never going to be objective. You see? So that's one thing. The other thing is this, is that in a lot of the sciences, right, you're going to breach that barrier between objective and subjective. You know what I mean? Just like, just like the theory of relativity, right? We can prove that time will go faster when things are being done. But in the end, though, isn't that just also perception, right? So what is the marker that we use to prove that? You see how it goes into different directions? Cabin, that certainly is the beginning. Foundation of all things in the universe. It was the original fact. The black man is the original man. The black man is God, the beginning of all things. So it is the first step in any cipher. I think that the first step in any cipher isn't to detail who it is that created it all, but the fact to immediately tell people, right, that all of this actually is created, right, by something not outside themselves, right? Once they start to see that, because it's not so much who in the beginning for people, it's the idea that no matter what, it cannot be. So it's about putting the reality of the world into a simpler reality, right? People have made the most simple things of nature the most complex things. So it is out of our realm to create things beyond, that are just, natural as opposed to man-made. But indeed, that is the foundation, right? Okay, truth says that's what I'm talking about, teaching what is true, right? Knowledge adding on perception is being. Reality gives context to the application of awareness and the potency of the knower's experience, right? Yeah, perception. When you're deciphering whether something is knowledge, your awareness of your own perception, though, is crucial. The way that you perceive the possibilities of your own errors is always key. It's always key. The more that you have a knowledge of self, the more that the perceptions of things, right, can be erased. The more that you could be aware of the perceptions. Now, Jay said, I do think the way some of us relate information can cause the listener to see it as some nonsense, even if we are right and exact. That's the importance of fluidity in teaching. Indeed, Knowledge Allah. Some of this frustrating exercise is part of that. Truth rules. You said, can I say that speaking on what I actually know, among others, they can research for themselves? Of course, yeah. We wouldn't want to do that. You know what I mean? We wouldn't want to just impose. We would always want people to. You're there, Cabin. No, I just won't let you be there. Jarrell, you said sort of like the blind, deaf, and dumb might see, but not all is within their reference point. They might touch, but not feel, hear, but not listen. Yeah, absolutely, because it's really just one fact. And the truth is that many of them have encountered the fact, and they may have intellectually denounced the fact. You know what I mean? With very sensible reasons, logical reasons. And the beginnings of supreme mathematics and use is really a science of logic. right? Everything is here. Everything that we are being aware of being created, we're making. So that means that what we're not aware of, the trees, everything around us, nature, right? We must have created too, because everything is created. We just may not remember it. But everything had to have been created. People see the faculties of themselves and they only see the immediacy. So they don't realize how their connection to all. So it's always based on a lack of knowledge of self and a disconnection in time that causes people to look outside themselves for a mystery. Okay? So you have to teach people to look back to do the knowledge properly, right? To step back, look past yourself. The original man is the son of man. The son, man had a son. That son is God, the son of man. But then that son becomes a man and has a son. You see, looking past your particular origin by seeing a connection to all of the origin, right? That's peace. Appreciate that, Kareem. So when we say what knowledge is, right? Open up something here. If I can get this mouse to find it. Okay. Okay. Now, okay, let me see. Oh, okay. You know what, Malik? I'm going to say it again, though, but I'm going to write it into the chat, okay? So that way it makes sense, okay? Um, man as mind or physical? Both, Kasim. Jarrell said, so when I tell them why the God is the supreme and original son of man, some reply they believe Jesus was black. So then I have to break that down, trying to clear the way out that quagmire. Right. Because remember, man is the supreme being because he is temporary. And that is why all the original man, all the original men, see, are the original man. It is because man is temporary in the physical. So the fact that man is a physical being is vital, is absolutely vital to him being a true and living God. He is master of all ciphers, right? Not just time and not just space, right? Not just the time of infinity. That's all people know. Time is infinity, but the realm of the finite, that which ends, okay? Which means that now you can define God as a creator inside his own creation. You see? And this is one of the things that is left out. What is God? God has to be a master of all realms, right? And the most useful God. See, all the mystery gods, they're all useless compared to this knowledge of self. All of the mystery gods are useless because they do not live in the reality that they supposedly create. They visit the reality. Jesus Christ has visited the reality. Zeus or whatever, they have visited the reality that they create. The true and living God, the original man, is not wasteful. He has only created that which what he will create in. And then when he creates, he will create further what he will create in. And that process lends itself back to this concept of the Son of Man. Okay, Son of Man. And let me put the etymology, right? My spelling is atrocious. Okay, so when we say Son of Man, God is the Son of Man. The Son of Man, and then we are saying Son, the rebirth of the mind. So when we say God is the Son of Man, we are saying that the God will be the Son of Man. But when that son becomes a man, what will that man have? That man will have a son. So it becomes a revolving reality. The Son of Man, right? The Son of Man. But then when he grows up to be a man, he has a what? Son, right? Of man. And that cycle continues. And that cycle is rotating, rotating, and rotating, and getting greater in depth, right? It has infinity in it, and it has a finite reality in it. It could be defined finitely and infinitely. Knowledge would be that truth of the creator, right? But you said the alpha and omega that created itself out of, I'm assuming you're saying it's triple darkness, the thought that created the original man, right? And that's why even in the alphabet, though, it says 1A Allah, right? And it goes with knowledge, right? In many respects, though, there really is just 1 and 0, that which is and that which is always going to be, creator and creation. So in many respects, though, we can say that, you see? And when we deal with supreme mathematics, what happens? Knowledge is an entire process that can be stretched out into mathematics, right? So you do knowledge. Knowledge is what is, and how is it used, right? How does it be? And then how does it what? Become? What does it reveal, right? Then how does it what? Live. Now we're out of the mind. How does it live, right? It has what? It has become something. How does it live? How does it what? Reveal itself, its power. How does it what? Show forth its equality, this entire balance of all things, right? The creator and his own creation, that point of equality, right? And then what? Now it is what? Showing and proving himself, God, the creator of creation, right? And then he what? He continues to what? Build and destroy, continue to change the reality by adding on to it, forever destroying what once was, because we could we are continually adding on. And what? It is endlessly born. Anything that is born means that it has a specific moment, which means that God is the master of that infinite and that finite reality. Divine truth, you said knowledge is information obtained through one's discipline, through listening, learning, and observing. Knowledge is infinite. It is a foundation that allows one to build on his or her information. Not incorrect. Right. Okay. Not incorrect. It is just now, how do we gauge what is knowledge? Right. And that is the exercise. That is the most difficult exercise. How do we gauge? This is what I'm harassing you all tonight about. I'll take a moment. I said a lot of stuff, so I'll take a moment for everybody to catch up with either a question or anything, really. Okay, what do we have? That's peace, truth. That's peace. 793rd. Peace, God. The foundation and cornerstone of all things, with that which exists, things. Okay, the W there confused me. Foundation and cornerstone of all things, that which exists within the original man, who has always been here, exists as well as outside and all around him. His ability to recreate himself continuously ensures his ability to live on. Don't doubt that. Proving what is true, that's the word. True. Yeah, most of you, look, I'm being difficult on purpose. No one has said anything about knowledge that is incorrect. You know what I mean? I just want you to take it out of the abstract. And by me saying all this, though, is to show that many of the things that we say might be a little bit too abstract. Okay? Kasim, you said, see, in school, they teach them about dinosaurs being here and all that existed before us. So that's where it gets confusing regarding man being God, son of man, to those new to this revelation. You know what I find interesting is that I find interesting that people say that dinosaurs existed, and that means that man couldn't have existed at the same time. Let's just take that for a moment there. Look at all the hell that exists today, though. Just man inflicting upon himself. I don't think that man, I think man could have survived easily among dinosaurs. You know what I mean? If they were here. And this concept of dinosaurs, though, I don't know if in the research, though, they are all as detailed as every kid, these cartoons, these movies, and Dino Dane movies. I had to watch that. So the if they're that detailed, you know what I mean? And there obviously are animals that existed, as predecessors to what we see today. You know what I mean? But just like just like we're not overrun by beasts of burden and massive animals and stuff, it would be the same back then as well. You know. What I think about dinosaurs though is I just think it's it's overly detailed compared to the other details that they could give. So we know that there's some oddities in that. You know what I mean? And then they just destroy all the dinosaurs, and then humans pop up. You know what I mean? Ice ages and things like that. So, you know, although I do think that there were all types of animals that existed just like prior, and civilizations easily could have dealt with them, just like societies deal with animals today. There are difficulties, and and there are not. You know what I mean? And then it does get OD because many of the dinosaurs that you see are they're fantastical, you know. But if you look in nature today, there are birds. For example, I'm thinking like the pterodactyl. I forget the name of the damn flying dinosaur, but I think it's a pterodactyl. I'm gonna lose points with my kid on this one though. I think they know this, but they have birds that'll pick your ass up. You know what I mean? If they wanted to, but we're not living near them. You know what I mean? Right? This is a small world, but it's also quite vast as well. You know what I mean? It goes both ways in that sense. You know? Right? Right. You see, and this is the wisdom is that usefulness, right? But there has to born an understanding, right? Divine truth, Allah. So you are in the correct idea, but understand that trick knowledge, which is not knowledge, it is not knowledge. It is a mis. It is lies presented with truth, so that they have some type of shelf life, but that doesn't make it true. Okay, doesn't make it true. Right? When we talk about knowledge, though, we're talking about something that will be endlessly true. You know what I mean? But here's the confusion about knowledge, right? A lie itself is actually a truth. A lie itself is actually knowledge. You see? And I don't mean a particular lie. I mean the concept of the lie is knowledge. Knowledge of lie. Knowledge of lying. You know what I mean? So what we learn is that there are forms of knowledge that are not based on righteousness, that are not based on things that allow mathematics to endlessly keep going. So there is a time period for certain things as well. You know what I mean? But the trick knowledge, I wouldn't call it knowledge per se, because it is focused on a particular thing uh, that they were being taught. And if you really think about it, right? Let's say the trick knowledge that Musa taught him, because this is where we get this from. That worked, but it's really only working for a set amount of years, right? Can a devil fool God? Degree don't say that. You know what I mean? So technically, it is not knowledge. It is not endlessly true. Okay. So when we talk about the supreme knowledge, like what knowledge actually is in the supreme mathematics, that wouldn't be in it though. You know what I mean? So there wouldn't be versions of it either. The trick knowledge is just to emphasize the point that actual real truths about the original man were taught to them so that they could manipulate them. You know what I mean? So they were being taught knowledge, right? But what they were really taught though was the trick knowledge. The trick is really in the wisdom that they were taught, the way to use this knowledge. You see? Right? So it's interesting. Very interesting. Right? Simply put, right? Truth rules, not, and this is, let me read you what I give out in my Supreme Math. I say that knowledge is an idea of awareness. Okay, it is an idea, and I'm emphasizing here that you are creating this reality. The actual fact, the truth that is the foundation of all that is further. It is a truth beyond like and dislike or good and bad. It merely is. It is a truth that all that is infinite can be expressed at each and every moment in a finite fact. Knowledge is infinite, yet it is constantly known. Thus, each aspect of knowledge is a point of awareness. The greatest awareness is of self as God or earth, and as it is the point of origin, it is the idea itself, an idea of awareness that we must learn more of and live. So it grows, it develops, it is constantly challenged, and it continues to be true. Okay? It continues to hold true with every single reality that comes about. That's what would be knowledge. You know what I mean? And in many respects, there's very little knowledge out there when we look at things on that high level of what I just expressed. But because you are all creators in this creation that you have created, then this idea of awareness though always is rooted in you. So there is always knowledge that can be found. And the key is though, is that methodology you have is constantly tested. See? So I don't have a way of saying, I'm not saying ultimately that what you're saying, all of you are saying about knowledge is wrong. What I'm saying is that the methodology by which you prove it is always under challenge. It is always under scrutiny. And it can be dismissed at any moment. Okay? And it could be the most powerful of methods, you know? Right? That's P.E.A.C.E, right? Waiting on you to break it down then, right? That's some good work to do. Break it down in many forms. Okay. Absolutely. Because any child that is really thinking is like, when did we come up to? How did we survive dinosaurs and things like that? You know what I mean? Right? So it's very important, you know. And then, of course, the assumption that we had no technology, no means, and so you know what I mean, that we had no ability to defend ourselves and stuff. You know what I mean? And these dinosaurs just ran rampant. You know what I mean? It's pretty fantastical though. You know, it does get fantastical though. So I think if any of us are studying dinosaurs or anything like that, there always has to be some type of suspension, specific, some type of suspension of belief in the research. You know. Yeah, those big birds that are goats off mountains. Yeah, they do exist though. There are birds that you wouldn't want them flying over your head while you're taking a jog in the park. You know. VC realm, you said knowledge, recorded information slash thoughts of the mind. In many respects, because that is what you are using. You know what I mean? And then much of it through trial and error is proven to be knowledge. You know. Indeed, 793rd says that that's been a focus of priority for a good while, utilizing the wisdom properly. with right equality provided towards specific digestion and fit for one's comprehension and applicability. All right, have a history of working with teaching you. Indeed, indeed. That's peace. We can. All right. Let me know if there are any questions about anything. I went heavy, so let me know. When I say idea and truth rules, right? What I mean is the idea of awareness. I mean your idea, your created idea. Okay. All of this though is you. Okay. And it's how you show and prove it ultimately. Right. And then how do you show and prove it? Because the more, what is your methodology? It would be obviously what we deal with. The more sciences you know, the more testing that you can do, the more proofs that you can provide, the more that you can make it an actuality. Right. Okay. Give a little time for people to have any questions about all that I've said. I said a lot of stuff. Or questions about anything or any add-ons that you want to make. Indeed, truth rules. Indeed. How else is this reality created? It's all just ideas. Nothing else is keeping it afloat. So, all right. I'm going to lead this into something else. All right. I'm going to take a little bathroom break and lead into something else that goes along with this knowledge. And one of the key exercises that we're trying, not the key, not one of the key, but the key exercise that we are doing when we get this knowledge itself. All right. All right. Nobody says anything. It's so interesting. You know, when I ask everybody to ask a question, nobody says anything. And it could be about anything. I haven't had the class in 2 weeks. Last week we're off. I was watching cartoons like crazy with the little one, playing games, all that type of stuff. I just kept to minimum reading, minimum training. And I'm expecting all these questions. I'm only getting a few questions. This really being formulating ideas, can those ideas become obsolete? Unless used for, do they still have precedence in this day? Well, your ideas are always changing, right? How are things created though? Ideas are always changing. You know what I mean? The way that you create is based on your ideas, and the way that you create is always fluctuating, right? The wisdom by which you create, the way is always changing. So that means that your ideas are always changing. You know what I mean? There's certain fundamental truths, you know, about them, no? All right. All right, Kevin, one more shot, right, Kevin? I'm not going to shoot you out to water. Let's see. Knowledge is a learning system. Using mathematics and science to conceptualize, show, utilize, prove ideas to oneself and others. This is my last shot. It's really, really good. You know what I mean? That is really good. And it is not incorrect. Because we say knowledge is not, knowledge really is those truths. You see? But knowledge never continues for you if you don't have it as a learning system. You see what I'm saying? Of what will be knowledge, what will not be knowledge. And the truth is that you are working off things that are not all completely knowledge. You see? So within the idea that creates all things, there are aspects of that idea that are not based in knowledge, that they have to actually, that they actually have to be used, and they have to be what? Draw out an insight, a revelation of purpose, so that they can be created, so that they can actually become something. See? Divine truth, you said, but with this change, you see individuals potentially become stuck in the reality if they don't change. This is partly why I'm challenging everybody so much, right? Because I don't want people to be stuck in what knowledge is. You know what I mean? There's a Judi Krishnamurti, right? I'll read it. Judi One of my favorite philosophers, Judi Krishnamurti. A lot of times you just see his name as J Krishnamurti, you know? They say Krishnamurti, right? Um, he said that once you are content that you have proved something to be true, it now becomes a belief. And what he was trying to say with that, very insightfully, is that you're not challenging it anymore. Because you're not challenging it anymore, it is now believed, and is now lived as a belief. So even the knowledge of yourselves is something that you constantly have to do, right? You have to constantly show and prove what? That the original man is God, that you was true and living, right? Once you stop creating, then now you cannot, the original man is not God. You see? So there was no stoppage. You know what I mean? So when people ask in the degree, it says, why did God make devil, right? The 38th degree. To show forth his power that he is all wise and righteous, that he could make a devil which is weak and wicked, right? And give him the power to rule the earth for 6,000 years, right? And then destroy the devil in one day without falling victim to the devil's civilization. Otherwise, to show and prove that Allah is the God, always has been and always will be. The last sentence. Otherwise, to show and prove. Otherwise. Meaning most of the time, all the time. To show and prove that Allah is the God, always has been and always will be. That's always happening. You see what I'm saying? So in that degree, it's literally answering by saying, because it's what we always do. The only way to show and prove ourselves is to constantly show and prove ourselves. The only way to be is to continue to be. You know what I mean? So why did God make devil? Because the only way to show that we are is to continue to show that we what? Are being. You know what I mean? And that we're constantly developing, constantly learning, constantly devising new ways to become, to born something greater. It's quite, it's so simple. It becomes complex, really. Knowledge of all things, right? Knowledge of all things. Knowledge of all things doesn't mean that it is knowledge that what you have learned, because it fluctuates. The lie fluctuates, though. So the lie itself as an idea, as a concept, is real. The particular lie is not. There's all an ongoing process. You know what I mean? Like the wonderful process of knowing that you don't know shit, right? And that wonderful feeling, though, that everything that you're going to do, though, is going to get you past that state of not knowing shit, right? So now when we've shown and proven that the original man is God, there has to be, leads to the homework assignment that is always ongoing, you know. The criteria, what is the criteria? What are the sciences that we need to show and prove? And you just list them. How do we show and prove the original man is God? Through biochemistry, quantum physics. How does that relate to it all? Physics itself, right? All of these things become the keys in the methodology. You know what I mean? The methodology that we're going to use. You know what I mean? And the truth is that as you're building with people, you try to find the constructs of their own methodology when you're dealing with the 85. Sincerely, like a lot of the people, you just, dismiss it, right? They don't want to know. It's not even a big deal. You know what I mean? But some people legitimately have a dismissal of valid criteria and actually have invalid criteria. Okay. And if we're thinking about things religiously, we think about things incorrectly if we don't respect that they have an incorrect methodology. There is a methodology. There's, like when they say method to the madness, though, there is a method to, the madness by which they deal with the mystery God. You know what I mean? There's countless scholars of the mystery God. You know what I mean? Some people I love are scholars of the mystery God. Right? But that's peace. I was building with one of the gods, one of my students, right? There's a god, and and it reminded me of a build I had with somebody else. That's God. That's real peace. You know what I mean? Peace, God in this nation. You know what I mean? I don't know all of his history. I gotta. People know my history, but I don't always know everybody's history. You know what I'm saying? I try to ask though, and sometimes I forget. Sometimes people are asking me about stuff, so I don't really get to always ask them. You know what I mean? I'm gonna get to your question, Kevin, though, right? But it was some talk about genetics though, and I saw genetics go back and forth, and with the 85, like the 85s that don't think that the 85. You know what I mean? And the truth is, if you don't have this knowledge of self, you weren't taught this knowledge of self, or you didn't go under the study, and you say things about what the lessons mean or what original Asiatic black man means or anything like that, you in the midst of being 85. It doesn't matter how educated you are or smart you are. You know what I mean? Because to know what those things mean, you gotta be under the study. There's no way around it though. You didn't read it. You could say that you and it's funny because it's like not like you have to be under the study, because I see people say stuff and it's just it could be really based off just a poor reading of Message to the Black Man and be right in there. You know what I mean? But because they gave it a poor reading, though, this is why they're 85. Remember, we got the knowledge of self, and we're saying there's no mystery God. But remember, a whole mosque, the whole nation of Islam, right? They got this information, and they still bear witness to a mystery God, right? They say father's coming back or something like that, and but they're not God. even though the black man is God. So now there's two types of black men. You know what I mean? Always remember that when you get frustrated. You know what I'm saying? That there are people that have had these teachings for a long time. It says it right in their face, though, and they don't say it. That the person to say that it is true is the one that is a rarity, right? The father to come out the mosque and say, look what it says. Let's just actualize what it says, right? The difficulty in these times will always be that people cannot actualize a truth, not that they cannot bear witness to a truth. You see? So then you get the reverse, that they spend time to denounce the truth or to invalidate the methodology that gets you to a proof. Okay? So a lot of times, though, you're not even going to have, it's not really a battle of making people see a methodology. It's the only way out. You know what I mean? It's their only way out to say that there is no process to prove such. You know what I mean? Right? But I saw this brother and he was building about genetics and the original man, and I noticed that people see that the black, brown, and yellow is God, the original man is God, but then they don't really have many ways of proving it. They just know that this is the best type of truth. I don't know. I don't know how to see it because that's not how I'm living. You know what I mean? But it seems that they can't really prove that the black man is God. You know what I mean? So that's going to be our task. You know, and today I really was going through knowledge heavily like this because I want you to get into the mode of questioning. You know what I mean? To be able to put into questions like, what are the difficulties that I have in proving this knowledge of self and putting that into words? That's what that criteria assignment is, you know? And as we go along, piece by piece, science by science, I'm going to start to go over, starting next week, particular sciences and how to actually deal with them to show and prove. You know what I mean? Instead of just saying like, oh, we're the original man, father of civilization. Well, what science? You know what I mean? Like what? And how is it valid? And how is it not valid? And how, and you know, so how can we use it? And how can it be denounced? You know what I mean? All right. Let me just read these before I continue. Kevin, you said, does this mean the original man are the only ones that achieve perfection because it's only in that time? All right. You're defining perfection in a way that I don't use it up, right? Yeah, okay. You're going off Sunez build the circle, so it's more that well, right. But see, I didn't say when I said son of man, right? Perfection is different from perfect. Okay? So you don't achieve perfection, you are in perfection. Something can only be achieved as perfect. So I was gonna make perfect is by perception. If I was to make a bottle that I needed to be plastic and to have a certain cover in hand, a top and a handle that clicks heavy, and a handle and has 20 fluid ounces, then I could say that this is perfectly what I needed. You know what I'm saying? Right? BPA free plastic, something that's not going to give me, you know, like some type of putrid cancer later, right? Then I could say, okay, this is a perfect bottle. It is done. It cannot be undone. It cannot be added on to. So for the criteria that we have laid out, right? The bullet points that we needed to be done, checked off, this checks off as perfect, right? The original man, the original woman are not perfect. They're not perfect. They are imperfection. Right? What I like to say is constant elevation at an ever increasing rate. And that rate isn't linear. Okay? That means that it's constant elevation at ever increasing. Son of man. Man has what? Man has the son, and the son becomes a man. But as the son becomes a man, he has to go back and learn what the man has to go forward You see? So there is development at all times. It's to go back, to go forward. It's back to go forward. So there's always a development that makes perfection. It's a constant elevation. You know what I mean? And the rate is ever increasing by depth, by the depth by which things are perfected. Okay? When we say something is perfect, it is for a singular act, a singular reality that we have defined. Not the case, though, with what perfection is. It means that it always will be and always manifest in all the realms as such, right? The Son of Man will forever be what? The true and living in that finite reality, but also supreme in this infinite reality, right? All realities, all definitions of those realms, right? ECL, peace. Okay, okay. I never stopped. Even during this pandemic, been quarantined a couple of times, enforced. So hopefully, when I go back to the school next week, I will continue this. Obviously, um, sharing the class online as well, and conducting these two positions at the same time. However, my goal is to make it comfortable for everybody. And that was one of the main reasons why I started the year and continued. I started the year mainly teaching here these 3 months because um, students were not comfortable. You know what I mean? And it's a small space in a law school in Mecca. You know what I'm saying? So, but going back because we have to continue to do things at the school. We have to continue to build, and there are still people that feel comfortable to begin their studies at the school, and not so much online. So, but cipher culture. It's a long time ago. You know what I mean? It's a long time ago. I since 2004 never stopped though. Okay, so I've been teaching this, these last 20 plus years since 2000. All right, let me fix one thing here. All right. Build Supremalize. Okay. Okay. I don't remember a Build Supremalize. But that doesn't mean anything because I've taught hundreds in since then. So um, I remember people more by the face. You know what I mean? Now with the criteria, right? This is why the and Malik Lowe, I have to get you some books because you asked me for some books. That's the email that I missed. Because I went on vacation, I lost track of some of the emails um, that were sent before I went on vacation. So I missed that, and some of those are older. So if you sent me an email and I didn't answer it, though, it's not. I don't see it as disrespect. If you forward it to me again, or you email me, I don't. There's no. You all requesting to learn things or to get things so repeatedly is not a form of disrespect. Okay, I welcome it. I appreciate the reminders and stuff because I'm always doing a lot of things. You know what I mean? Um, and there are many required things that I do to perfect my let's say my skills, the abilities I have, and what I do, reading, writing, training. But then there are also immediate projects that I have, and then there are also long-term projects. So there's a lot of things, to go along with what I'm doing. And I get fixed on getting those immediate things done, and then long-term goals, and finally get into the long-term projects that sometimes I'll forget, like some of the emails here. You know what I'm saying? Because preparing for the class itself, though, is an immediate goal. You know what I mean? So it all helps me and stuff, and shows me the intensity. So Malik, I know that there are some books I want to say, but I remember that now because I'm taught the criteria. One of the ways to find out learn how to show and prove man is God is through a different array of literature, reading a different array of literature that goes through different subjects, different ideas, and different ways and means. So not just the scientific means, but the philosophical means of what the ancient cultures taught. You know what I mean? What different Sufic orders taught, Zen Buddhism, Chan, Hinduism, whatever different philosophies we're studying, earlier philosophies like more recent philosophies, modern philosophies of that, like Jidi Krishnamurti. Jidi Krishnamurti being one of the people that said, when asked if man was God, and he said, yes. So when I give you that beginner book list, it's really about not just reading all the books there, but knowing and taking note of all of the different subjects that you see. You know what I mean? That's really important. Yeah, so being able to, to see the different proofs in different subjects, um, different disciplines, different styles of writing, right? And also, we would, the mentioning of pedagogy, that's always going to be crucial. All right. Pedagogy. Pedagogy is the science of teaching. Okay, so you're always devising how well do you teach. What when you take note of how you show improve certain things, including this knowledge of self or other aspects of it. What are the things that you go to? Okay, you want to continually add on to see if those go-tos are correct still, right? But you also want to realize though if you become pretty stale, and only use one way, you know. That's peace, Malik. Just because we study pedagogy, we're studying our own, the way we're teaching. But we're also studying others, though, because the more that you study the way of teaching, it's also how you're not fooled, right? If you understand teaching more and how people are taught, then you can also figure out how people are fooled. Okay. You also can figure out whether you're learning correctly or efficiently. Okay. So pedagogy is not a science of home only to the teacher. All right, we're coming on our last half hour here. Let me give you some information. Okay. If you really want to get this knowledge and you're online, You're going to want to email me so you get more of the tools, the references, and the books that I give out from a vast library. You're going to want to do the knowledge to the regular column that I post after classes. Okay, so for each session, I try my best to write a column for it. Okay, this is the last session's column, right? Not last week because I didn't have a class, but the week before. Okay, what else is missing? Anyone that is interested in not just reading the columns, but interested in writing for the 5% media, please let me know. Any of you that are interested in just writing in general, though, please let me know, okay? Having your work published or anything like that, let me know, okay? If I don't have the forms for it, though, I certainly can help guide you to those forms. For those that are online, though, peace to God, it's really upon you to make this class as interactive as possible, okay? You're not really getting the knowledge yourself if you're just watching me and doing your best to learn, though. That'll help you. But this is an interactive now, so it depends on your specific engagement because you're learning the knowledge of yourself, not myself. I'm presenting a knowledge of self that demands your interactive reality. Okay. If you don't interactively engage, then now we can't even try to replicate what would normally happen the way it has always been taught. You know what I mean? Personally, right? With people coming to the school, you know what I mean? Face to face with a student in the street or at homes or at different places, you know what I mean? You have to do your work to try to replicate that. The first way to replicate that, though, is to regularly to contact me immediately via email, right? And then we go from there. Ah, man. Hmm. Knowledge of self, right, is not only knowing your immediate origins, but knowing the impact and the reality of your of yourself as a creator in this reality. In other words, knowing the power that you have to create, right? So if somebody says, what is the knowledge of self, right? It would be knowing that, knowing their relation, right, of power to the world, right? And that's what you say, 85, knowing how they build with their power. They don't know how they build with their power. You know what I mean? So the knowledge of self, for the most immediate, those who don't know, in the most simple way, right, is to show their relation to the universe, to all that is created, and the power that they have within that. And obviously, we're showing them that the knowledge of self is essentially that they are creators in this creation of theirs, right? Yeah. Right. So 85 asks you, what is the knowledge of self? My simple answer is always like, listen, knowledge of self is who we are, right? In, the spiritual question, right, of the creator, of creation, it is the answer to that, right? I'm not getting your question, Millie. You said 26 degree and the wonderful. What was that reference point suggesting? Right. Um, it's when they say, you're saying what year was that, right? Well, what are we talking about in those degrees, right? Talk about the grafting of the devil. You know what I mean? So it's in reference to when the devil was grafted. You know what I mean? And the idea of Yakub coming with that idea, right? So really, with the idea, the unlike idea realized by Yakub, right? How long did it take? What was his idea, right? What did he promise? How old was the founder? Who was the founder of unlike, right? It's really based on Yakub and when he came with this idea, right? So it goes, what year was that, right? That's also something else, though. I still haven't done it because it really frustrates me that I lost it, and I had a good one, but make a little bullet point calendar of Asiatic calendar, so that way that makes sense, though, you know. But when you go through the degrees, though, you should be and keep it simple. All you have to do is have some basic things, right? You go 6,000 years ago from the present time, plot when the lessons 1935 for, keep it simple there, right? And then juxtapose that. Once you go 6,000 years ago, right? Then you start plotting, well, what would that be and what they're saying here? Musa came 2,000 years later, and then that would be here. You know what I'm saying? And you're plotting in balance with the regular, Gregorian calendar, right? So when you do all that, though, you start to see all of the dates aligned, though. It'll be pretty easy to do. You know what I mean? Because they're already giving you the Asiatic numbers. You know what I mean? And certain things you can figure the others. You know what I mean? Because we can. One thing that we always know as a reference point on the Gregorian calendar, the one that we're using, is always when the devil was made, because we know it's 6,000 years ago. Okay. All right. Okay. That's peace. How do we find the Asiatic calendar? Well, that's what I'm saying. No, it's really just charted dates, though. So you can. The key is really charting it yourself and making one of your own with just the information that's in 120, because that's really what you're gonna need. It's really just a reference calendar of events, though. You know what I mean? But the years are already suggested in there and given, so you could find it. You know what I mean? You could make you find it by making your. Yeah, well, yeah, that's the difficulty. You plot all the dates, right? You plot all the dates that you see in 120, and you got to plot them, okay? And of course, you're once you have the immediate reference of 6,000 years ago, right? Which is going to give you around what 4,000 BCE, before Common Era, right? Then you could pretty much do everything else. You know what I mean? So you grab that piece of paper, though, draw that long chart, get the Common Era line, the Gregorian line, and then get the Asiatic calendar line, and just write down those different dates and try to get the numbers. And you'll see, you'll come up with it, though. It isn't very hard. But obviously, it's as you go along, though, because, and if you've gone through the 1 to 40, though, you should already do that. You know what I mean? That's peace, God. That's peace, God. That's what I'm here for. So, yeah, everybody ask the questions, you know? And honestly, I'd like everybody, if you do to do the Asiatic calendar, and then show me, and we'll see if it's good. right, all right. That okay, yeah. Did I give you some suggested apps? I don't know if you had found any. Okay, let's see. Uh 8,400. Now let me think. But that's a good question. I wish I had a pen and pad because then I would just plot it out really quick right now. Let me read your question again. 8,400 is the year Yaku's work was completed, not his physical birth. Uh, I think no. I think no. I think no. I think it is his physical birth, from what I remember. Yeah, because yeah. Why are we asking 8,400? Is the 21st degree? Yeah, right. I mean, we can't. Yeah. He was born 20 miles outside of his city, outside the holy city of Mecca, and he 8,400. We can't assume like some real metaphorical thing there. It says he was born. That's what it says. Like, not gonna, you know what I mean? Um, Now the next degree then is where you get like the metaphor stuff. You know, when he was 6 years old, playing. It could be six. You know, if you want to get literal, or you think it's 33. You know what I mean? Which is what I was taught. The two pieces of steel, right? Um, but he technically could have been smart enough to understand the principle, unlike attract, unlike repel at 6. But to actually devise it, you know, I was taught he was like, 33. But the wisdom knowledge degree, though, I've never been taught to take that like metaphorically. So that's like when he was born, 8,400, in the year 8,400, right? I'm still stressed. Okay. Peace, Uncle. This is Adia. Peace, Adia. I was wondering if all date 120 were accurate. And I was wondering, for example, if it says 30 years ago, is it this date that is 30 years ago? It's usually referring, well, I don't remember any 30 years ago dates in 120, but the dates, if they say 30 years ago, for example, it's really referring to 1934 or 5, right? It's gonna be one or the other. Like when Elijah actually answered the questions, which is those years. So like in the 10th degree, in the 1 to 10, right, which is where you would be on. When they go from that when they go Christianity is 551 years old, you're minusing it from the date that Elijah said that, when he answered that. So it'd be like 1935. Okay. Yeah. No, it wasn't 6 and 8,400 though. But again, though, like that's the 22nd degree is something that is analyzed when you build with the elders as not necessarily being 6 years old as a child. Okay. It's metaphorical. However, not the 21st degree. Right. Yeah, that's Calm Islami, that's when it becomes confusing. You know what I mean? And that's why I when I plotted it, it all made sense, but it's been so long ago and I haven't found my paper that I have to do it again. But it does make sense though. It does make sense. I just have to figure it all out again. But yeah, you didn't hear God say that LT station. That's what it says in the degree. You know what I mean? Well, born with that particular idea, it doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense though. You know what I mean? Because then they're not reading the 22nd degree. You know what I mean? So you can't have both. You know what I mean? Right? And I was never taught that it was both. So yeah, we really have to think logically here. Like the unlike attract and like repel principle is simple, so a 6-year-old would get it. It's possible, very, very possible for a very precocious child to get that easily. Also logical, though, in the idea of 33, being that there are very heavy Masonic roots in the way the lessons are formulated, that it would actually be 33 years, right? It fits with all that kind of Masonic way of formulating the information, right? So yeah, you know what I mean? However, you know what I mean? Um, Let me see something here. Okay. Let me just try to think of this in my head here. See, when you see it was predicted him 8,400 years before he was born, and he's born in the year 8,400, what are they saying there? It's real simple. What they are saying, though, is that is the beginning of this Quran. You know what I mean? This concept, this idea, this reality, right, is the beginning of this Quran. I mean, so when you're plotting it, though, that that revelation, or not revelation, I guess prophecy, that would be a better word, um, is beginning there. You know what I mean? Yeah. So the Quran that we're talking about, right, is beginning at year zero, right? And the emphasis in saying he's born in the year 8,400 and saying that it was predicted 8,400 years before he was born is that it's predicted at the beginning of this Quran. Okay. Yeah, and the 8367. Yeah, that doesn't. I don't know. I don't know. That's not the way I've ever seen it plotted, and the way it was plotted by the elders that taught me. I never saw Dumar plotted like that, or anybody. They plotted it basically with what those lessons said. You know. And if I remember correctly, I could be wrong. I don't think that Elijah builds on it that way either, though. It's basically what his answers were and consistent to those answers. But remember, he's born 8,400, and it was predicted of him to make double 8,400 years before he was born because the year zero is the beginning of this, Quran. Okay. If the lessons say doesn't sound like it, but Elijah's teachings sound like it, then you're seeing a disconnect because it's all Elijah. You know what I mean? Like, it's all Elijah though. So it's Elijah's grammar's messing you up though with a lesson. You know what I mean? Because it's all Elijah, right? You know what I mean? Because you're separating the lesson from Elijah's teachings. It's the same thing. Right? Same thing. Right? So we've already plotted something. We have year zero, 8,400. The devil's made. Excuse me. Yakub was born. You know what I mean? Then you have what? Right? Then you're adding on. You know. You're going to the you're going to the culture degree in the 1 to 14, right? That's what you're doing then. I don't know where you're getting the 15,000 from. You know what I mean? But again, if you go back to the culture degree in the 1 to 14 and then plot those moments with Musa, it all lines up. You know what I mean? It all lines up. You know, because the 15,019 is from the date of the writing. What writing we're talking about? The writing is the lesson, 1935 or 4, right? Okay, so when he says 15,000 years ago to the date of this writing, now we're talking about Elijah, when Elijah said this in the lesson. So, okay, so that's, I think, where the confusion comes from. Right? And again, look, it's really not that difficult. Okay, you just gotta plot it. Okay, you just gotta plot it. Can 8,004 indicate build or destroy of two ciphers? Um, I don't know how to say your name. Quizar Quaco Laban. Um, that's an analysis of it, but like I said, learn the plots, learn all of that. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't indicate anything. It's just it would just be it's just really more of a mental trigger for you if you was building, right? I'm not really with that the numbers say something. You know what I mean? It'll only be just mental triggers for you to analyze like that. Mm-hmm. Indeed. Like I said, plot it. It all makes sense. Okay. You spend some time getting a sheet of paper and just plotting it all, though, and then it makes sense, though. Okay. Right. So right now, though, it just seems oddball because we're all doing it in our head like that. You know what I mean? And it's really just about plotting it, though, showing that this whole Quran, though, is based on events. Okay, not time, not measured time as we know, as we use it in the calendar. You know what I mean? All right. All right. So unless there's any like glaring questions, okay. Um, know how to contact me. Uh, if you have my math, text me. If you don't, email me so I can give you my math. Okay. Show me that that we can definitely build and that you want to build. All right. All right. All right. We got about 2 minutes left and stuff. So let me write the emails again. Write the email, not the email. The get the proper address for the Peace Course columns. You could read them all there, sift through them, and they're different. So if they give you a question, um, yeah, let me write that in my notes so that I could remember you particularly, Malik, with the books. Okay. All right. All right. So that not you could, the columns I write them differently. I write them sometimes they're stylish, sometimes they're written straight ahead. But hopefully thought provoking. So if there's questions that you have with them and they confuse you or anything like that, ask. That there's no problem. Okay. Again, in the digital cipher, it is based on your interaction. If you are not interacting with me in this digital classroom, then that means that you're not in the digital classroom. Okay. All right. You can't say I taught you if you said you watched it. Okay. You can only say that I taught you this knowledge of self like that in that most truest way if you were interacting, because we'd be interacting here and outside of the classroom as well. Okay. Um, whatever medium that we use. Okay. All right. So as we adjust, as I work to adjust to go back to the classroom, keep in mind that that's what it entails. It'll entail you all to do more. Okay. To do more to interact. Okay. And for those who are interacting here, as always, it's supreme stuff, and always an honor. All right. So with that, I would say keep building, stay healthy, and as we talked about all day, get some more knowledge, create. Peace.